Well, Razorback fans, yeah, I'm about done. I'm about done.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Neighbors. I am also the host of Inside Arkansas Live, which you can catch every weekday starting at noon on Inside Arkansas and InsideArkansas.com. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. I know you didn't because you're a Razorback fan. And as great as the weekend before was, this one not so much. I apologize for my voice. I've been kind of battling some congestion and whatnot. It's that time of year where it changes a little bit. But either way, I've been a little under the weather, so bear with me. But, I think as much as I'd like to blame it on the weather, I think I want to blame it on the Razorback football team. That made me feel so sick to my stomach and feel like I'm wasting my time in talking about this. Arkansas played a football game on Saturday, folks, in Fayetteville at 11 a.m. to the Ole Miss Rebels. You know the Ole Miss Rebels, the Ole Miss Rebel team that is good this year. Lost a couple games they probably shouldn't have, but has really improved defensively and has done a few things offensively that's been pretty good. But overall, they're a team that was coming into Fayetteville feeling pretty good, and rightfully so. And Arkansas is also a team that, at least you thought, coming into this game, feeling pretty good. Nothing was good about Saturday. Arkansas lost 63-31. And folks, it wasn't even that close. It was just an absolute clinic that Ole Miss put on Arkansas quick, fast, and in a hurry. Jackson Dart completed 81% of his passes for 515 yards and 6 touchdowns. That's a real thing. The backup Simmons comes in. It's okay. He goes 3 for 3 and does throw a touchdown. They had a guy by the name of Watkins, because that's what's crazy is Trey Harris, the wide receiver for Ole Miss, who's leading the SEC far and away in receiving yards, didn't even play in this game. Let me rephrase that. Actually, no, I'm not going to rephrase it. Let me just say it again. Ole Miss was without their best offensive player and their leading wide receiver, and they still managed to throw for 515 yards. Watkins had 8 catches for 254 yards himself with 5 touchdown receptions. 5. That's a real number. Wright was able to get 2 touchdowns as well. And Dart led the team in rushing, and you know what? It doesn't matter because they didn't have to rush. They just kept throwing the ball pretty much all day long, and they were just fine with it. But on the side of Arkansas things, you had Taylon Green come in. He was hurt. He got hurt in this game. They took him out. They took him out in the right way. He started 10 of 14 to 158 yards. I mean, it's not bad. Malachi Singleton came in, 11 for 14, 207 yards, and a touchdown. In fact, if I would have told you those numbers that, like, hey, both these quarterbacks are going to combine 21 of 28 for 365 yards and a touchdown, you'd probably feel pretty good, or at least decent. Andrew Armstrong at 135 yards. But you had an issue, though, with, of course, Braylon Russell. He was hurt. He's still dealing with that hamstring injury that he had against Mississippi State. So you had Rashad Dabinian and Ronnie Hill. Those are your running backs. You couldn't run it. But again, it doesn't matter. It did not matter. This team was completely outcoached, outclassed, outgunned, outmatched, out everything as Ole Miss puts up nearly 700 total offensive yards. Arkansas had 10 penalties for 95 yards on the day. They ran 65 plays. They were 100% in the red zone, so there's that. They also had 2 turnovers, 2 fumbles, of which one of them was just such an indicative deal where Isaac TeSlaa got the ball, was run down the field, and got popped out from behind. And it just rolls into the back of the end zone. So therefore, it was a fumble and a touchback for Ole Miss to retain to get that possession. But the thing is, I just went through the stats, and I don't even care, folks, about the stats as much. I just wanted to set the tone of what I'm really about to say here. I'm sick and tired of this. I'm sick and tired of having hope in something that is about as bipolar as it comes. I'm sick of believing that a home field advantage means something, or at least it should mean something. I'm sick and tired of me spending my hard-earned money with season tickets, with tailgating and everything. And when I say me, I'm also speaking for all of you who do the same thing, to get absolute garbage performances in Fayetteville. There is zero excuse for what transpired on that field on Saturday. Zero excuse. If Arkansas would have lost the game, that's one thing. But you looked like you had zero clue what you were doing. Defensively, all of that Travis Williams stuff, all of that, good performances and whatnot, a train wreck, a travesty. Just disgusting from beginning to end. That Tennessee game was the anomaly, folks. It really was. It was the game that just didn't make any sense. Stars aligned. Maybe somebody sacrificed a live chicken to somebody. Like, something had to happen for that game to just happen. But that was your one. That was your one. Because in every other case, you have also performed so badly at home. Just pathetic. That it's just disgusting to me that once again we're having to have this conversation of what went wrong, what happened. Sam Pittman goes in his press conference and starts talking about got to get better, da-da-da-da. I'm done with that. I'm done with it. Like, why even care? Why even hope? I know losses are going to happen, folks. I do. And I picked Arkansas to lose this game. I did. I thought it would be low scoring. Stupid me. But I know losing's part of it, and it's going to happen. And, we saw games this year that you lost to just better teams that, you gave A&M a run for their money. It didn't work out. You played Oklahoma State, and that's a game you should have won. But, things like that happen. I can almost deal with those a little bit easier than this. 63-31. Pathetic. Just zero excuse for it. And I'm not going to sit here, folks. I'm not going to sit here and talk about I want Sam Pittman fired. Because that's going to come in time. But I think I'm done. I think I'm done. I'm tired of believing. I'm tired of trying to convince myself. I'm tired of trying to figure out this team, figure out this program. I mean, that was a team that looked like they completely and totally let go of the rope, especially defensively. They didn't want to tackle. They didn't want to be there. They didn't want to be there. They looked like a team that was dreading an 11 a.m. kickoff, a team that was dreading to have to go out there on the field, a team that has no heart, a team that has no passion, has nothing. And I'm not talking about just players. I'm talking about coaches involved too. It was a joke what we witnessed on Saturday. And I just feel there should be, honestly, every Razorback fan that attended that game on Saturday, season ticket holders especially, you should get your money back for that. You should get your money back for that, and you should have an apology. I know Ole Miss is good. Okay? It's not like you lost to a Division II team. Like, I know Ole Miss is good. But at some point in time, you actually got to fight and look like you're ready to fight for your own home field, for your own fans in front of them, and stop being a Jekyll and Hyde throughout the entire season. Like, how do you go from just help it make sense? Because I know the SEC is crazy, which we'll talk about. But how do you go from what we saw Arkansas do against Tennessee, and then you have the games that you take care of business, whether it's like solid teams. I'm not going to sit here and try to, justify all the games that Arkansas's played, why they're okay or why they're good or why they're not good or anything like that. But I guess my thing is I just don't understand how you go from that. Like, how do you go from Tennessee and then you get your taint handed to you by LSU at home? Coming off a bye week. And, go on the road to Mississippi State and you do your job. You take care of business. Mississippi State's a god-awful team. They're horrendous. And then you come back and you put up that performance. I just don't understand how you can do it. It's not that you've lost confidence. At least you shouldn't have lost confidence. Not mentally tough, whatever it is. But it's incredible, folks. It truly is incredible. Arkansas in Fayetteville, Tennessee only scored 14. But UAB scored 27. LSU scored 34. And now Ole Miss has scored 63 in your home field. Okay? Right there in Fayetteville. And if you want to take it a step back, look at 20 and going into last year. Missouri put up 48. Auburn put up 48. Mississippi State put up 7, but it was good enough to win. I'm just sick of it. I'm done with it. I'm done with trying to make excuses. I'm done with trying to justify everything. I'm done with trying to figure this out. I'm exhausted, and Razorback fans deserve better than what they saw there on Saturday. They deserve better than that. But we're going to talk about what can happen here in the last 3 games because I'm an idiot and I feel like I talk about stupid stuff. So why not? Let's just keep it going. But hey, stay with us though because we will get into some good stuff coming up here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Stay with us. All right, Razorback fans, you know what you could use a lot of today, I am sure, after having to witness whatever it was that we saw there on Saturday in Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium. How about some 5-Hour Energy? Our friends over at 5-Hour Energy know that being passionate football fan isn't just a hobby, it's a way of life. It takes a lot of energy to power through all day tailgates, touchdown celebrations, or an agonizing second overtime. If only Razorback fans knew what that was like. But wait, that's why they created the Stay in the Fan 5-Hour Energy Shot with a special flavor called Fan Fuel, the energy shot made just for super fans like all of you. The fans who are in the first in the parking lot and who are the last to leave, that's the ones that these are for. So you know what gave me a little bit of Razorback extra energy today is because I needed to go through and power through with all my friends who came into town and hanging out with a lot of good people there throughout the day, and I needed to leave the game early. So we needed to get out of there, but have the party continue on. 5-Hour Energy came in clutch. 5-Hour Energy knows that no matter what team that you root for, being a fan requires heart, soul, and a whole lot of energy. Whether you're prepping for a big tailgate or ironing your jersey, your game day to-do list is always a mile long, and that's why the limited edition Stay in the Fan 5-Hour Energy Shot is here to keep you fueled throughout the season. So what's your fan fuel this week? Whatever it is, do it with a 5-Hour Energy, available on 5hourenergy.com, shipped nationwide. All right, so moving on into the next segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I'm going to keep talking about it and ranting about it. All right. I was embarrassed on Saturday to an extent that I don't want this to continue on, man. I want it all changed. I do. I want it all changed. I want it to be blown up. I want it to be different because I'm tired of this. I'm tired of having to see this. And it is incredible that I feel that way with still 3 games left in the season. Like, the fact that the bye week is this week, it's just like Jiminy Christmas. Like, I'm a Jets fan. And the whole adage is of the Jets is like just in the season, And that's what the Jets stand for. I'm kind of feeling that way with Arkansas. I'm getting to the point where I'm like, hey, let's just end this, man. Let's just end this. Get it over with. Because how are any of you going to be excited about when Texas comes to town here in a couple weeks? I mean, I'm sure there will be some sort of juice of it. It's Texas. But it's 11 a.m. kickoff. You just got your butts handed to you in Texas. Man, if any team wants to do that to you, they will. They'll be the ones that want to do it because the last time they came to town, you did that to them. And so it could really, really, really get a little bit weird here if Arkansas is not careful. But how do you get excited about that? Truly, like what makes you feel good about it than the rest of the way? So you got thunders going around here in Northwest Arkansas. I don't know if y'all heard that. But, yeah, it's pathetic. So you have Texas, then you have a non-conference game, call it a warm-up or however it is before the big rivalry weekend. You got Louisiana Tech coming to town. Time is not been determined for that, but hopefully they do it on a Friday night or something like that. And then you got Missouri on the road to end the season. I think you win 2 games, or you lose 2 games. Not win. Definitely not win. I think you're going to lose 2 games. You're going to beat Louisiana Tech to get to bowl eligibility, and that's it. You're going to go 6-6. Which is to say, it's not the worst season. You improved. You're going to a bowl game, but it's just sad because of where you were at. I mean, it's literally been since as soon as the SEC slate started, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. And I don't see you just bouncing back and beating Texas in a win because you've, again, none of it makes sense, man. Tennessee, sitting there at the top of the standings now, especially since A&M lost a game and got smoked by South Carolina, which makes no sense. Arkansas beat Tennessee. But you don't feel good about it. I don't feel good about it. So what do you do from here? What needs to happen? What needs to change? I guess you could get Jaquindon Jackson back healthy, maybe Jalen Braxton back healthy. But I don't even think those things matter. I mean, what's going to change in this bye week? Because coming off of a game like that, how do you keep this team still motivated when they got embarrassed like that? How do you keep them focused in to take on Texas next game? You know, Texas, the one of the best teams in the country. Them. How do you get excited about that? How do you get the team involved with that? Because I'm telling you, folks, this could go really awry really quickly. It absolutely could. And who knows, maybe it is already. Maybe this is the beginning of the end. But that type of performance that you had on Saturday, this is what gives I hate to even say the credence to it, but it's what gives the idea that, hey, we're done with this. We don't want to play anymore. Because if you would have lost close, if it would have been a hard-fought game, you should have still held your hat on to something. But when you're losing 63-31 and Lane Kiffin and them are toying with you and they're running up the score on you and all of that, it's hard to bounce back from. Just take it as you as a fan. How hard is it for you to feel good right now or to feel like that Texas game is going to mean anything to you? I mean, it's got to be the same way for players. They're humans. It's human nature. I'd assume that they'd feel the same way. But I don't know. If you go to a bowl game, it's almost want to decline the invitation. What some teams would do when they got an NIT bid and they didn't want it. They'd just be like, we don't want to do that. It's kind of how I feel for Arkansas right now. I don't want to really do a bowl game. It's not that point. I ain't feeling too good on it. But this is just the worst, man. This is just the worst. It's the worst. I want to be able to have futuristic expectations and hope, but I just don't see it. That's why I've always been saying still for on this podcast. I went on Feinbaum over the summer and I said it. So the reason I bring that up is because it's not something new that I'm just pulling out of my hat. I do believe that Sam Pittman will not be the coach next year no matter what. I think he retires. I've been saying that for a while now. I know that some people have kind of jumped on board with that and started speculating. I have no evidence of that, but I'm just saying, it wouldn't surprise me at all. Maybe that's the wish, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if something like that happened. It just seems like it's getting to the point where everybody needs a change, you know? I mean, 5 years is a long time. 5 years is a long time. And when you look at the situation with still 3 games left, maybe you surprise somebody. Like maybe surprise it. Here's what would be to me best case, most realistic scenario is if you just beat Louisiana Tech and Missouri. If you did those two, that would be a great way to end the regular season. You go 7-5, and I'm not saying that everybody's just thrilled, but it at least leaves you with a good, decent enough ending to the season, which you have not had in quite some time. You haven't had good, decent endings to the season since 2021. So this would be a good way of doing it, but it just seems like it's so far-fetched at this point in time. I'm sorry, folks. I'm just so mentally exhausted trying to care and be passionate about this team because they do not care and are not passionate for you guys. So why should I be for them? Either way. We will talk about the SEC, though, how crazy it is and how it all maybe it's just an anomaly. Maybe it's just something that's just weird this year. But wait, we'll get to that here in a second. So stay with us here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, all you Razorback fans out there, get ready to tackle all the NFL and college football action this year with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything that you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get your hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you get to place all your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, so final segment here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. As pissed off as I am about the Arkansas Razorback football team, the SEC is so stupid. It is so dumb. Like, no team's undefeated in the SEC anymore because Texas A&M lost to South Carolina. Not only did they lose South Carolina, they got the doors beat off of them. Like, I don't know what to make of this. And people will be like, oh, well, if you would have looked at the lines and you would have looked at all this stuff, you would have seen. I'm like, okay, well, I'm basing it off of history. And historically speaking, this isn't the type of crap that happens in the SEC where none of it makes sense. Usually it's like the same few teams just beating each other. But it's getting to the point where now everybody's going to have a good win. Like a great win, in fact. 44-20, South Carolina just destroys Texas A&M. Texas A&M didn't score in the second half, not one play. Rocket Sanders had a great game, though. 20 carries, 144 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So, but yeah, none of it makes sense. You had Vanderbilt beating Auburn, and Hugh Freeze sucks. So we just need to get that out of the way. And I'm so glad because I feel a little bit vindicated. If y'all listened to the roundtable that we did for Locked On with all the SEC hosts and everything, you would have heard me say, when are we going to start actually believing? Because they were all taking Vanderbilt or taking Auburn in this game. I was like, when are we going to start just actually giving credit to Vanderbilt and saying they're a good team? Instead of constantly being like, all right, when's this going to come to an end? When's it going to come to an end? Give credit where credit is due. They're a good team, and Vanderbilt 6-3, 3-2 in SEC play right now. They had some tough games in front of them because they have South Carolina next this weekend, and then they have LSU on the road and then Tennessee. So still some really tough competition, but they've done a pretty good job so far. And then Tennessee beat Kentucky. Kentucky played pretty well, but Tennessee did enough. 28-18. They got the win there. Kentucky's still terrible. Georgia beat Florida. It was a little unique and interesting there at halftime because it was 13-6. Florida led at halftime, but it didn't matter. Georgia did Georgia things and won 34-20. So looking at the standings right now, you got 4 teams that are on top of the SEC. Actually, let's see. You got 5 teams. 5 teams with all 1 loss in the SEC right now. Georgia at 5-1, A&M at 5-1, Tennessee at 4-1, and then LSU and Texas at 3-1. So still really hot and heavy up there. Vanderbilt, Ole Miss, Bama, Vanderbilt, Ole Miss, Bama, all 3-2. After that, South Carolina, Arkansas 3-3, Missouri 2-2, Florida 2-3, Oklahoma, Auburn, and Kentucky all have 1 win, and then Mississippi State, poor Mississippi State's at 0-5. So isn't it crazy how different it can be? So like take Arkansas and South Carolina for instance. Arkansas is 5-4, 3-3 in the SEC. South Carolina is 5-3, 3-3 in the SEC. Pretty similar, right? Pretty much the same. Except one program feels really good and the other program does not. Maybe I shouldn't say really good. Maybe I shouldn't speak for South Carolina fans, but I bet you they feel a lot better now than what Arkansas fans are feeling right now. They lost to LSU by 3. They lost to Bama by 2. Probably should have won that game. But they've done some good things. Lost to Ole Miss 27-3. They got Vanderbilt, Missouri, and Clemson. Like they could do a lot of things. But isn't it just amazing how those teams, similar records, but different feelings completely? I just hope for Arkansas for the best. All right, I'm going to continue to talk about the team. We'll hear from Sam Pittman today. No, we won't hear from Sam Pittman today because it's a bye week. So yeah, I'm going to turn the page of basketball pretty quickly. I'm going to be down there for the Arkansas-Baylor game in Dallas. Hopefully a lot of you are as well. You'd be a lot better off doing that on a Saturday than trying to watch this Razorback football team. But still, good stuff. Good stuff that should be coming there for not only here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast, but you can check out Inside Arkansas too. So we got a lot of great stuff going there as well. And we'll keep it going. So appreciate each and every one of you listening in, watching in. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube as well as on the Apple Store, Spotify, wherever podcasts are found. You can subscribe and download the podcast there too. And we'll keep it going from there. Same podcast time, same podcast channel tomorrow afternoon. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you then.